Things I think while I lie awake and contemplate tonight are wearing me out. Well, maybe tomorrow the world will wake and get it right, but I have my doubts. During the day, well, I design machines of war that scream through the sky. 'Cause I, for one, I like to go to bed free at night under these stars and stripes. And I have my doubt that we're coming out. Yes, I have my doubts, and I have my doubts that we'll make it back out. Yes, I have my doubts, but they'll wind you up and pull the cord until you're spun right out. And I don't understand. Roll the dice and raise the price to feed the machine's mouth. Call it the progress of man. And I have my doubt that we're coming out. Yes, I have my doubt. And I have my doubt that we'll make it back out. I have my doubts, so I'll drink my stuff and raise some hell and shoot my guns to the end of my time. You can have the booze and go to hell and take the guns, but I know they won't be mine. That we're coming out. Yes, I have my doubts, and I have my doubts that we'll make it back up. Yes, I have my doubts. So we're all messed up and out of touch. Let's text someone who's in the other room. So don't wonder why we don't say hi or know anyone. I might as well move to the moon. So maybe I'm wrong. Well, I hope that I'm wrong. So maybe I'm wrong. Well, I hope that I'm wrong. The things I think while I lie awake and contemplate at night are wearing me out.
Proverbs 26. As snow in summer, and as rain in harvest, so honor is not seemly for a fool. As the bird by wandering, as the swallow by flying, so the curse causeless shall not come. A whip for the horse, a bridle for the ass, and a rod for the fool's back. Answer not a fool according to his folly, lest thou also be like unto him. Answer a fool according to his folly, lest he be wise in his own conceit. He that sendeth a message by the hand of a fool cutteth off the feet, and drinketh damage. The legs of the lame are not equal. So is a parable in the mouth of fools. As he that bindeth a stone in a sling, so is he that giveth honour to a fool. As a thorn goeth up into the hand of a drunkard, so is a parable in the mouth of fools. The great God that formed all things both rewardeth the fool, and rewardeth transgressors. As a dog returneth to his vomit, so a fool returneth to his folly. Seest thou a man wise in his own conceit? There is more hope of a fool than of him. The slothful man saith, There is a lion in the way, a lion is in the streets. As the door turneth upon his hinges, so doth the slothful upon his bed. The slothful hideth his hand in his bosom, it grieveth him to bring it again to his mouth. A sluggard is wiser in his own conceit than 7 men that can render a reason. He that passeth by, and meddleth with strife belonging not to him, is like one that taketh a dog by the ears. As a madman who casteth firebrands, arrows, and death, so is the man that deceiveth his neighbour, and saith, Am not I in sport? Where no wood is, there the fire goeth out, so where there is no talebearer, the strife ceaseth. As coals are to burning coals, and wood to fire, so is a contentious man to kindle strife. The words of a talebearer are as wounds, and they go down into the innermost parts of the belly. Burning lips and a wicked heart are like a potsherd covered with silver dross. He that hateth dissembleth with his lips, and layeth up deceit within him. When he speaketh fair, believe him not, for there are 7 abominations in his heart. Whose hatred is covered by deceit, his wickedness shall be shown before the whole congregation. Whoso diggeth a pit shall fall therein, and he that rolleth a stone, it will return upon him. A lying tongue hateth those that are afflicted by it, and a flattering mouth worketh ruin.
Good evening. It's Tuesday, October 21st, 2014. This is your host, Mike Callahan, and welcome to the Watchman News. Something like that. Hope everybody had a good evening last night. Boy, I was beat. I apologize. I'm sure it came out in my voice. It came out in my performance. It just came out. It was pretty bad. I apologize. I don't have the link for the news up. Still didn't get them up for last night. I don't have them up for tonight. Wow, I've been doing a lot of learning and playing, and I got a little treat for you. I figured I would share with you. I'll give you a taste of what I've got so far. Now, any and all of this is subject to change, but it's what I have so far, and I thought I would just share it with you. And you could see how I'm coming along for the first minute, 20 seconds or so of the new intro for the show. I figured it'd be something nice you may enjoy. So here, take a look.
Things I think while I lie awake and contemplate tonight are wearing me out. Maybe tomorrow the world will wake and get it right. I have my doubts. During the day, well,
So that's just a little sneak peek of what I have going on there. So, and I'm going to probably change a little bit of that up a little bit. We'll see. I really didn't like some of that towards the end of what you've seen, but I have time. I have time. I'm not rushing it, so I want something that will really speak. I want something that will hopefully hit your heart as much as it does mine when I watch it. So that's what I'm trying to do. That's what I'm going for, and I'm very lucky that my lovely lady Jennifer is going to assist me in some of that, and I couldn't be more blessed. So anyway, as we always do at the beginning of the show, I have suspicious observers report. Wow, am I going to have a problem talking tonight? I have his report for you, as usual. The link for that is down in the About tab. And then I didn't notice, but several days ago, he released a video about the Earth's pole change. Yes, the pole reversal. And he released a video about it, and I totally missed it. I didn't today. I was just kind of looking through stuff on YouTube, and it stood right out there at me. And so I'm going to play that after I do his daily news report. We had some end flares come off this huge sunspot on the Earth and on the sun. I hope we don't have sunspots on the Earth. There might be a problem then. But anyway, so yeah, it was very interesting to say the least. What he had to say. Now, this is something that I started saying probably 4 years ago. And I started really trying to bring it to people's attention. And, everybody thought I was nuts. So, but the poles are shifting on the Earth. There is no doubt about it. That is what is going on. It's happened in the past. In my opinion, it's probably taken out civilizations with it. Hint, hint. So as far as how quickly, I'll let him get into that. I think I think probably how swiftly it comes would probably even shock Ben Davidson. I really don't think it's going to take long. I think it's going to just speed up drastically. I'm not going to give a timeline for it because I'm not that educated in the subject. I don't think anybody, well, there probably are some people, but those people are keeping their mouths shut to us anyway. So, but anyway, without further ado, let me do his daily news, and then we'll go to that one. So, suspicious observers.
Good morning, folks. Let's go right to a Siding Spring update. NASA's first pictures are in, and they are highly disappointing. With all the technology and all the satellites watching, I am dubious that this is the best they got. No more amateur footage has been published, and we're left with some interesting conclusions. First, there was definitely light effects of the camera, some lens flaring, and Mars' version of a sundog. But if that's all that happened, why cut the live feed? Highly suspicious. Now, it must be noted that it was not NASA or the ESA's feed, so comments saying that they cut it off are blatantly incorrect, as they had nothing to do with those feeds. But still, why were they cut off? No good explanation exists as of now, but we can say this. Yesterday, we remarked that if a background star was flashing during this sequence, then it was a light effect and nothing special at all. After some careful examination and speaking with an expert, this may not truly be a background star flaring and an artifact of whatever happened on Mars itself, meaning that even a background flash like this one could be caused by something real happening at Mars. Is this enough to make a conclusive call? Certainly not. But with the privately controlled feeds being cut off and the official images underwhelming, How can one not speculate? Right now, here is what we can say. The companies in charge of the live feed cut it out upon occurrence of the anomaly. It wasn't NASA, but that's not the point. There are definitely a few videos out there making a stink about simple light effects. However, that initial conclusion about the background star may be incorrect. The expert photos are borderline pitiful given their technology, and we cannot completely rule out an electrostatic discharge between bodies. Updates to come as needed. Jumping to the sun. There were 5 M-class solar flares yesterday, and this uptick is in full swing, all based on the big sunspot group coming in on the south. The others are magnetically simple, separated, but not this one. The question now is not how to classify the region, but just how many delta spots can we locate, at least a few. Flaring should continue over the next few days, and interestingly, despite the fact that a few of those flares were not impulsive, there was virtually no ejecta from these eruptions. No plasma cloud heading into space, no CME interplanetary shockwave or vortices. In fact, the only real CME of note erupted behind the limb, beautiful in 304 angstroms. Quick note on Bartol. Neutron counts are falling, and if it looks like the muons haven't moved in days, you're right. They stopped giving data on October 16th. Solar wind shows very elevated solar wind speed, and this is definitively from the departing coronal hole. The stream intensified yesterday before falling off in the overnight hours, but a geomagnetic storm was produced. Eyes open for more. Right now, the more powerful coronal hole is on the Earth-facing disk and might have begun its uptick already as a 6 magnitude quake hit all the feeds yesterday, coming from Ecuador, but in standard fashion, it is listed well below that mark at the USGS. I've linked an article on Earth's albedo, or reflectivity. You can learn why ice and clouds reflect light and cool us down, but you won't hear anything about how more clouds were the entire premise of the greenhouse effect that is supposed to warm us up. You should remember this from a few weeks ago. The September snow cover was way above average in the northern hemisphere, and if you isolate just North America, it was the highest September snow cover in our record books. Shocker. The spin doctors have declared this to be one of, if not the warmest September on record. Interesting. You can see how part of the planet was warm, other parts of the planet were cold, seen even more so when we look at 2014 thus far. A story of climate extremes. The long-term trend data still shows the temperature plateau we've hit over the last 2 decades. This is the great pause you hear about, and the subject of our climate change playlist linked for you below. Quick Tropics Watch shows the system in the Gulf developing further. Could have some more this week. Meanwhile, let's see if we can isolate the genesis of this pinstripe temperature delta. Veterans of the channel know it's all about wind drive via pressure systems. Low in eastern Canada, shifting warm air north at the east, cold air south on the west. Meanwhile, a high-pressure cell in Arkansas is driving heat and moisture up through the western states. This is more than the cause of the temperature shift. It causes the bad weather too, which follows the moisture flow into the desert and north, and also creates the convergence in the east that will be a factor. NOAA's alerts show pretty much the same thing with the calm, dry conditions in the center. Europe is a bit tricky today. You can see the flow onto land there, but the northern pull around Italy of heat and moisture is not so evident. You can see a bit in the cloud convergences, but not a lot. Nevertheless, there will be some bad storms in these areas tonight. Moisture flow heading atop New Zealand to a small low near the North Island. Also got a convergence created in central Australia that will swing eastward tonight and settle in the corner. Those are the watch zones here. Got some shots of our star to close. Eyes open. No fear. It's 6:15 a.m. Eastern Time, and that's the news. Be safe, everyone.
And thanks again to Ben Davison. I noticed he kind of started to go back on what he was saying before about the electrical discharge from Mars and the comet. So that's rather interesting for him to back up on that. Yeah, very, I don't know, I wished I knew more about that particular subject so that I could give some of my own input on it. It's all very interesting to me. I've always been interested in that stuff. I've just had a little bit of a different subject of study, but it was nice for him to, at least admit going back on it, or uh, tell what he had found out the latest, instead of going on. That's why I like Ben. He does a very, very good job. Um, Very good job of what he does. Very professional, always. And anyway, he did a video about the pole shift. And there's a lot of people that would argue whether or not there's really a pole shift and what will happen and all that. And I would like to discuss a little bit of that after his video. So I would like just to give you a little bit of an idea of what we are in for. Some things I don't think anybody really thinks about, but would happen. It's an eventuality. It would happen. There's no doubt that it would happen, and it's pretty scary stuff, to be honest. So anyway, here's what he has to say on this geomagnetic reversal that's coming.
Observers, per previous instructions, I'll assume you are relatively caught up on the basics of Earth's electromagnetic condition. In case there are any newcomers to the channel, here's a bit of review of where we stand. There have been more than 50 publications detailing how Earth's magnetosphere, our planetary magnetic shield, is weakening. These are just a few. The WDC for Geomagnetism in Kyoto, Japan has created this animation showing how Earth's magnetic field is fading quite quickly. In this animation, white and pink are strong protective fields, and blue and violet are the weaker fields. Back in 2011, the European Space Agency confirmed that our field had lost about 15% of its protective magnetism. In a world seemingly on the constant brink of war, where it's hard to agree on anything, nearly every country and scientist who studies our magnetosphere manages to come to the same conclusion. It is fading fast. The ESA's Swarm satellite mission has been keeping us updated. As of this year, the field is still weakening faster and faster. Some commenters suggest we could have lost 20% or more of our protection at this point. The mission manager from Swarm said that the field is likely weakening because the poles are getting ready to flip, which, by the way, all scientists also agree is long overdue on Earth. But in literally the very next sentence, it is claimed that this will take thousands of years. However, as NASA reported back in 2003, the poles have already begun shifting, and they are not taking their time. The shifting of the poles is taking the same speedy approach that our magnetosphere is taking, faster and faster. And the guess from 2010 of where we'd be in 2015 is already considered well short of actual movement. At this time, the poles are moving at least 65 kilometers per year, and probably faster by now, which puts Earth's full reversal only decades away, assuming it doesn't speed up anymore. If it does continue to speed up, we could be much closer. Could a reversal truly take place within our lifetimes? Absolutely. The newest information comes from Berkeley, not the folks to ignore, and they say the reversal can happen in a very short time period. This latest study shows a slow ramp up to a rapid shift and tipping point. This makes a process that happens 10 times faster than anyone else has predicted. The poles began shifting fast in the middle of the last century. The magnetosphere began weakening even earlier, and it turns out that this process can take less than 100 years total. Perhaps most importantly is confirmation of what the ESA said months ago. The magnetic field weakening precedes the pole flip. We'll get our next measurement of polar position next year, 2015. Meanwhile, the shield above our heads continues to fade, and the needle on your compass will point north in ever different directions. All we can do now is wait, hope the flip holds off longer than it already has, and hope the sun doesn't take advantage of our lack of protection.
Very good video. And the link for this video is down in the About tab to where you can go to his video, to where you can go view those citations for yourself. Yeah. So there's some areas that I don't know as much about it as what other people would. Ben could probably be of great help with me on this subject. But okay, let's start with what's coming from the outside in. Our Earth's magnetic field protects us from all the different rays and stuff that the sun has. It also helps us from gamma ray bursts and that stuff. I mean, if we didn't have our magnetic field, to my knowledge, we could not live on the surface of the Earth. Now, that being said, I don't think that it is going to drop to zero and stay dropped to zero for any period of time, even if it reaches that point. It could be like a flash that it dropped to zero, or it may not drop at all. But it would make a little bit of sense that it did for a flash, and let me tell you why. If you go back to biblical scripture, it will talk about a third of the earth will be burned, and that would be very, very correct to that happening wherever it was daylight at when we lost our magnetic shield. That part of the earth would indeed be burned. So that lines up. That's also the reason why I really think that those in the know have been building bunkers like crazy, because I think they're aware of this pole reversal. I think they know that it's coming. I think that they have scientists that know a lot more than what I do that tell them what's going to happen. And that fits very close to not only scripture, but it also fits with what other beliefs have said, many ancient beliefs. And okay, that is from the outside in. Now, let me tell you a little bit that I know a little more about us on the Earth. So first of all, when we have a geomagnetic pole shift, okay, it's not just going to be the geomagnetic poles. Once it does that, we are going to turn on our axis as well. There will be a physical shift as well, and that's best indicated by the wobble that the Earth has at this current time. Our Earth has increased in its wobble over the last, I couldn't tell you how many years, but several years. We're wobbling more and more than what we ever have in recorded history. And that is because of the migration of the pole, the North Pole specifically. And so what's going to happen, and this is what I've heard from other scientists, that once that North Pole reaches at about 40 degrees or so, it's just going to flop. Okay? So all this time up to 40 degrees, this Earth is going to be on more of a wobble. Okay, that in itself causes everything like climate change and many other things, all kinds of, when I say climate change, I'm talking about massive storm systems that will cause weird types of environment for the different areas on Earth, like colder weather in certain places, hotter weather in certain places, and in some places, both hotter and colder weather like we have here in the United States. So that is one thing, and that is as the pole is shifting. Now let's talk about when the pole actually does that flop. Okay, so when the Earth does this, when it makes a sudden change physically, not just geomagnetically, but physically, okay, you have to imagine like the air is standing still on the Earth, and the Earth is a ball that spins, okay? So even though the air is not actually moving, it's going to be like it's moving. You're going to have those stronger winds. Now, I can't even begin to tell you, estimate, or speculate in any way, which shape or form, how fast those wind speeds are going to be. But I can tell you, not only from scripture and from different prophecies, from other belief systems, that it is going to be just unbelievable. I mean, it will just shear anything just right off. Okay, and now that's just talking about the wind part of it. Now let's get to the other parts of it. Of course, you're going to have effects on the plates of the earth. So there's going to be massive volcanoes. There's going to be massive earthquakes. Everything you read in Revelations can and is described by a pole shift, other than like the armies and whatnot. But what I'm getting at is that kind of leads up to it. And in my opinion, from what I get out of my reading, that the wars and rumors of wars and all those events kind of lead up to this main event, which I honestly think it is a pole shift. I think that is what has caused many of the civilizations to disappear off the earth. I can't really speculate as to could that have been a cause for the dinosaurs. I really don't know, but that's something to think about. Just remember those key points. For one, that we can lose our magnetic shield, and a good possibility of it, even if it's just for a flash. And the Earth is physically going to move, which is going to cause all those other domino effects along with it. So it's something to think about. It's something that I have been watching for several years now. It's something that I highly suspect, and it's really nice to see other scientists and other people that are observing of what's going on, to be able to come out and say and confirm some of the very things that I have suspected for years now. So, yeah, that's kind of where we're at on that. It's very interesting, and you can go, I'm sure YouTube, in fact, I remember watching several YouTube videos on this subject. You can go several places and get this information, and you can get information from all different sorts. In fact, there's videos like here, Earth's magnetic field is collapsing. There is, by Nemesis Maturity. Just all kinds. Just go search anything like geomatic magnetic reversal, pole shift, anything like that. Just search it in YouTube. You will find a ton of information, and I'm not going to guarantee that all of it's correct or anything like that, but you will find a plethora of information about it. Search Google as well. It's something to be very educated on, because I do believe it's something that we are going to be looking at in the very near future. Here's a video here, almost an hour long, 2014 warning, cataclysmic pole shift and mass extinction by Pimpin' Prophets. What a name. Anyway, that might be a video you might want to check out. Don't know how good it is. I haven't seen that one in particular, but this is something that I personally have kept up on for some time now. So let's go ahead and get on with the news. We've got some Ferguson news for you. I'm trying to, the news has been in like this blackout thing, as it has been for a little bit now. And there's just not a lot going on. And there's a lot of repeating of stories and on and on about things that just really should not matter and should not be things that are up in front of our lives and on our minds. It's bad enough we got the distractions from TV shows and sports and everything else. And, so we're not getting a lot of information about Ebola per se, or anything else really for that matter. We're not getting a lot of information about Syria. We're not, it's just really, it's been a really, really hush-hush thing. And it's kind of, it's a bit frightening. But I don't believe that those in the know have built their bunkers and stuff for Ebola, or for even mass civil unrest, or anything like that. I think it's for the pole shift, and I have thought that for quite some time now. But anyway, let's get to something a little earthly that we know is going on. A senator of Missouri was jailed the other night at a protest in Ferguson, Missouri. As the headline reads, Senator Nasheed had a handgun on her at time of arrest, refused breathalyzer, police say. And I'll read the article, and then I'll read the article and then I'll play the video for you. Um, Missouri State Senator, I really don't know how to pronounce her first name there. Jamila, I am not sure. Nasheed had a gun in her possession at the time she was arrested Monday night outside the Ferguson Police Department, according to Ferguson Police Chief Tom Jackson. Nasheed declined comment about having the weapon, but did tell News 4 she had a concealed carry permit. A Ferguson police officer said Nasheed was carrying a fully loaded 9mm handgun and additional rounds. Good for her. Sources also told News 4 Ferguson police requested St. Anne to administer a breathalyzer test at the time of her arrest because she smelled strongly of intoxicants. But Nasheed refused to do so. Nasheed said Tuesday that she was not intoxicated at the time. Nasheed was formally charged with failure to obey lawful order of police and manner of walking in the roadway. She was released from St. Anne Jail before 11 a.m. Tuesday morning. It was a symbolic arrest, sending a message to the protesters that we can protest peacefully and that we must protest peacefully and that we want justice for Michael Brown, but we don't want it in vain, Nasheed said, outside the jail Tuesday morning. Nasheed is scheduled for her first court appearance on January 15, 2015. St. Louis County Police said Nasheed and Javante Nelson were arrested for being in the middle of South Florissant Road and blocking traffic around 8:30 p.m. Police said Nasheed and other protesters were told they could protest on the sidewalk but not on the street. Police said Nasheed and Nelson were arrested for violating the city of Ferguson's ordinance for walking in a roadway where sidewalks are accessible. Police said they warned the two numerous times to move out of the street. St. Louis Alderman Antonio French tweeted Monday night that Nasheed was refusing bond and that her chief of staff called her actions an act of civil disobedience. And I do want to add there that I was watching. I went after I seen the incident come up on Facebook. The news channel reported it. I pulled up some live streams. I watched live streams, and I really want to add this to it. Ms. Nasheed said that she really needed to go to the bathroom badly, and that they would not let her go. They would not let her go, and wow. And last I knew, that was a violation of human rights. The last I knew. I wanted to point that out. I'm not saying I'm necessarily fully behind what she was doing. I mean, come on, standing in the street, that, okay, yeah, that's, going to jail for it, yeah, that's a little bit strong, but I don't know why it's necessary to point out that she was carrying a firearm that she was legally allowed to carry. I don't see what the point is in that. It's part of this, oh no, it's a gun thing. I guess now we're supposed to fear the protesters because some of them are carrying guns. No, truthfully, more of them should legally, mind you, be carrying firearms. And I do emphasize legally. And not to cause anything, not to start anything, but not for their own protection. Because I mean, my God, look at the monsters they send out after them. I mean, they shoot rubber bullets at them and beanbag rounds and tear gas and stuff without any type of provocation. I mean, except for the provocation they make up. But and if you've watched, you've seen, I've shown that, I've proven that they lie about this so-said provocation. And then and then brutalize decent people. It's a fact. We need to stop. It frustrates me, all the people that they hear the word protester and they automatically, oh no, worthless, dirty people that don't work. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Everybody would protest for one reason or another. So don't put down other people that are doing it just because you may not agree with their cause, be behind their cause, or whatever the case may be. Respect that they have the right to do so and support that. You can at least support that even if you don't support their cause. There's a lot of things I don't agree with, but I'm not going to put down the protest or the protesters. Not whatsoever. I believe in the United States of America. I believe in our Constitution, and I will stand behind it. I don't have to stand behind every individual in this country to do so. And it's okay. It's okay to take that stance. In fact, that's the stance that our forefathers had envisioned for us to take. So that's just a fact that I don't know what to tell you. It is just a fact. So let's go on to another. This is a study that was done. It's like modern day slavery, the alarming Ferguson statistic plaguing many. And I didn't play that last video. I didn't think it was so necessary. The Ferguson police shooting that killed Michael Brown has put the North St. Louis County under a microscope. The community faces enormous challenges, including a housing crisis that has homeowners struggling to hang on to their homes. 6 years since the height of the housing crisis, much of the country has recovered, but Ferguson has not. In the neighborhoods near Brown's Memorial, boarded-up houses dot the streets. 50% of homeowners are underwater, meaning they owe more on their mortgages than the homes are worth. The national average is 17%. Melody Wade works full-time, but is still 3 months behind on her mortgage. It's like modern-day slavery, Wade said Tuesday, like you're working for free. No matter what you do, you're never, ever going to get out of this. That's the plan. When people have bad housing situations, sometimes it leads to homelessness, crime, it leads to domestic abuse, said Malik Ahmed, the CEO of Better Family Life, an organization that offers help to homeowners. It leads them to not being part of the society in which they live. Ahmad said he wants to revitalize the depressed communities around North St. Louis and says housing is the first step. And, that is so true. Wow, there's things that people shouldn't have to worry about in their life, There are certain amounts of security that people should be able to be granted. And if you're out there working full time, you shouldn't have to worry about whether or not you can put food on the table, whether or not you're going to have a roof over your head, whether or not you're going to afford the needed medications that you need. And I'm saying the needed medications, not all the medications they keep trying to throw people on. That's just ridiculous. I'm talking needed medications. And there's just so many things that should just be a given that we should not have to worry about so that we can focus on the other things in our life. The other things, which I'm going to call important things. Those are all important things, but they need to be a given. They need to be something that we should be able to take for granted. We can't do that anymore. And how? How can you owe more for a home or anything else for that matter than what it's worth? That is ridiculous. The whole idea is ridiculous. It just something needs to be done. I mean, it really, really does. I don't know. So many messed up things, and sadly, the only way anything's got a chance of getting fixed is if we get out and do that nasty protest thing. It's crazy. It's crazy. So anyway, on to another subject. Wow. It's really disheartening. Families' anger over school lunch reveals more widespread issues. I've been having issues about school lunches and school bake sales and everything else for a long time. It's absolutely gotten ridiculous. You can't have a bake sale and have people make good, healthy cupcakes and cakes and, candies and this and that and the other thing. But you can have the junk. It's perfectly fine to have that junk. And, I don't get it. If it's got tons of chemicals, preservatives, and all this crap, excuse the language, that's what you have to bring. You can't, Anyway, let's get on to the story and not my opinion. Angry parents in Chickasha complain their kids aren't getting enough to eat at school. The Holton family says the meal the district calls a Munchable is ridiculous, and family members say it needs to change. The meal that daughter Caitlin Shelton took a photo of Monday consists of lunch meat, a couple of crackers, a slice of cheese, and 2 pieces of cauliflower. Schools in Chickasha serve it every other week. Caitlin says it's especially problematic for her because the 17-year-old is eating for 2. She's pregnant with a little girl on the way. It makes me want to take that and take it to the superintendent and tell him to eat it for lunch, she said. Caitlin's father, Vince Holton, says the $3 meal is not good enough for any student, much less one 8 months pregnant. I can go pay $1 for a Lunchable and get more food in it, he said. The school district says there are more options on Munchable Day, such as milk, beans, and pears. But Superintendent David Cash agrees there's a problem. He says it's thanks to federal regulations to fight childhood obesity, which limit calories per meal based on a student's age. You've got it in some cases, little kids that they're only 2 meals are breakfast and lunch at school, and they're getting, a grand total of 1,100 calories. That's not enough, he said. As for a Munchable, high school students are supposed to get 5 options at lunch, but students only have to accept 3. And state nutritional regulators say because of that, the meal passes federal guidelines. We have a meat alternative. We also have bread grain. We have vegetables, said Assistant State Superintendent for Child Nutrition, Joni Hildebrand. Look at the photo she received from Fox 25. It's the student's choice of what they want to take. But even she says the federal regulations for maximum calories, sodium, and fat are frustrating, especially because many students don't eat all the options. These regulations were put into effect 2 years ago, and we're struggling with them. There are no exceptions for students who are pregnant or those who are athletes and burn more calories on a daily basis. Chickasha administrators say as a result, they think kids are going hungry at school. I know they are, Superintendent Cash said. There is no doubt about that. My own kid comes home, and the first thing he does is raid the refrigerator. And the Holden family says they just want to make sure their kids get the nutrition and calories they need for their growing family. Schools are responsible for children while they're at schools, Caitlin's father Vince said. They're responsible for feeding the children. The superintendent says in wake of the complaints, the district will re-examine the Munchable as a regular meal option. Wow. It wasn't even said in there about the importance of nutrition and education and learning. I'll tell you what, I've worked in many different hats throughout my life. I've worked many different jobs. And those jobs to where I had to use my mind more than my muscles, I definitely needed more food. I needed more nutrition. Without a doubt. It took more out of me physically, mentally. I was more tired after work. My lovely Jennifer, she works the front desk, and she's tired after work, and she doesn't really understand why she's as tired as what she is, and it's because of what she does. It's a mental tasking job. And you would think the students in schools are using their minds even more than what most of us are during the day. They just are. They're learning. They're not doing the same thing over and over, which so many people do at their jobs 40 hours a week. They're learning. You would think that they would be getting a sufficient meal. When I went to school, I didn't think it was sufficient. I can remember buying extra stuff. When I had the extra money, I would buy an extra piece of pizza. Remember those rectangle pieces of pizza? I would buy an extra piece of pizza and still be hungry. And that's after eating the corn that was on the plate and whatever, on the fries or whatever. I would still be hungry, even with that extra piece of pizza. Sound like a Little Caesars commercial, don't I? Anyway, so I don't really have any answers other than we need to kick the federal government out. And we got to kick them out of every part of our lives. They have just absolutely gotten out of control. They've taken over way too much. And it's in every aspect of our lives. We just can't get away from them. And they are destroying everything. They're destroying absolutely everything. They're destroying healthcare. They're destroying our schools' education. They're destroying our kids' lunches. My goodness. They're trying to come down on people that use not necessarily the people that use electronic cigarettes, although the eventuality is it will affect them too, and the costs and everything else, and the selections. But here there's a healthy choice, much healthier choice. All the studies, and yes, there are studies that are coming out, and it's just amazing how good the studies look. And they are still trying to say that they're bad. They just want to get their grimy hands on it so they can tax it, so that they can make the choices, and you have to just pick from what they decide to let you have. And I don't know about you, but I'm getting tired of picking from what they decide is good for me. You can't sue a police officer because he couldn't get to your home in time to save somebody from assaulting you or raping your wife or whatever the case may be. And I apologize for the horrible thought there, but that's a fact. You cannot sue them. There was a Supreme Court decision. You cannot sue them. They cannot be responsible for protecting you. So then they need to get out of our lives and quit acting like they're trying. That's a fact. And I know I'm getting fired up here, but it's ridiculous. It's absolutely absurd. Every single thing they want to control in our lives. And it's got to stop, and it's got to stop now. If we don't do anything about it, we won't be able to walk outside without federal permission. I remember my boys playing out in the front yard. This was 2-3 years ago. Summertime. They're out there playing with water guns out in the front yard. They're chasing one another, trying to get each other wet, having a great time. And we had a jerk for a neighbor. His name was John. I swear, I promise you, this is no exaggeration. He called the cops about every other day. Anything he could call the cops about, this guy was on the phone to the cops. And they would show up with the claim that, well, there was a report. We had to come. No, you don't. It's harassment. It's legalized harassment. They needed to tell that neighbor to knock it off. And I'm not going to get into why he had a problem or anything like that. But there were circumstances beyond my control as to, and along with mental issues of his, as why he was doing this. But anyway, about this particular incident, he had claimed that my boys were pointing that he was sitting over at his porch, probably a good 100 feet or better away, and he was claiming the boys were pointing their water guns at him. And I believe they said they were saying something. No, they weren't. They were running around shooting each other with the water guns, and that's simply all it was. I've got good boys. I mean, I haven't seen them in 10 months, but I've got very good boys. Or at least I know I had. And so where I'm going with this is when the officer got there, I was informed that maybe I should keep my boys inside. Maybe they should play inside. Excuse me? I am not going to fit in this little box. And God hope that I have my boys in my life again in the future so that I can damn well make sure they don't fit in any little box either. They got it perfect. Or I should say my ex. She got exactly what she wanted. She wanted to run with those kids, and she's too dumb. Yeah, I said it, and I'll come right out and say it. I speak the truth. That's the way it is. She's too dumb to know any better. It's a fact. Be careful, folks. Don't let the government get that kind of control. She enjoys it because right now she's got free reign with those boys. Has no idea and not a care in the world for what's happening to them. Not a care. But I love my God and I trust my God. My God will deal with that. My God will deal with this government. But we've got to do something in the meantime. We've got to do something now. Common Core is totally messing up the education for our children. They can't get the nutrition in school to learn if they were actually being taught something useful. Is this what you want for your children's future? Or is it easier just to turn on a TV show or watch the ball game? You make that choice. You decide your children's life. That's all there is to it. That's all I have for you tonight. Talk to God about it. Ask God what He wants you to do for your children. May God bless you. May He walk with you. Be one with your spirit. I do love you all. And I'm sorry when I get passionate like this, but there's nothing to get more passionate over than children and their futures. Y'all have a good night. I'll see you tomorrow night.